date unknown, inside the Tain. Tradition tells us almost nothing of the Mercuridia, save for the horrible skull platforms they would build from the severed heads of their enemies. We found one of these a few hours ago, 30 feet high and 100 feet across, each skull arranged with a mad precision that was terrifying to behold. Many of the skulls were human, or at least humanoid, but among these were others which were certainly not, whose shapes and curves I have tried to forget ever since. In the center of the platform, far above our heads, rose the ancient battle standard of the Mercuridia. We left immediately. Mergen believes that we are close to finding a back door, a secret exit from the Tain, added by its creators so they could escape the thing if it were ever used against them. It will be hidden, of course, and almost certainly protected by traps, but it is our only chance of escape. These caves are so vast that we've been able to locate less than 50 of the 4,000 men we suspect are imprisoned with us. Mergen hopes that he can release the others after we have escaped by destroying the Tain at the exit. I asked him if doing so would also set free everything which had ever been imprisoned in the Tain, but got no response. Sunday, May 23rd, near Mirgard. I think Soulblighter lost his nerve when the Tain shattered. To him, only a few seconds passed between the invocation of the thing and its sudden destruction, while it took us 2 days to escape the caves inside it. Anyway, he didn't stick around to figure out what went wrong. Messengers reached us today saying that Maeldan had lost Bagrada, and that the Deceiver crossed the mountains at the Stair of Grief. Worst of all, what's left of the 9 had it out with the head, which had apparently been double-crossing them ever since they pulled it out of the ground last summer. Something like a civil war erupted back west, too, as thousands of our own men unexpectedly rose to defend the head. 2 of the 9 were killed, which makes them something like the 3 now, if you also subtract Mergen and Ku-Roy, who did not escape the destruction of the Tain, and the others who have died this year. The only good news is that Ulrich is still alive and will join us tomorrow. This far east, the dwarves with us are closer to their occupied homelands than any of their race has been in 50 years. Not expecting to return, many of them have decided to give up their lives rather than abandon their country once again to the Guols who have overrun it. What follows is their story. Tuesday, May 24th, Mirgard. What I record next is hearsay, though the dwarves who remained with us after Forest Heart swear by its truth. It seems impossible that they could have any knowledge of events occurring hundreds of miles away, deep in territory long held by the Guols, yet their conviction does not yield. I repeat here their story, and allow the reader to come to his own decision. Led by their pathfinder, Balin, the dwarves landed in the midst of a sea of Guols and laid waste to them with grenades and satchel charges. But the enemy boiled like ants from their burrows in the mountain, and each one that was killed seemed to be replaced by 2 others. Yet at last the attacks ceased, and the dwarves found themselves masters of the bloody patch of ground where they had taken their stand. Bodies and pieces of bodies lay everywhere. A swift council followed their unexpected victory, and the survivors resolved to locate the Guols' ancestral stone godhead and blast it to fragments. The Guols have worshipped this enormous piece of unworked stone since the birth of their race, rolling its 100 tons wherever their migrations have taken them. The continued presence of the Guols' idol at Mirgard is a blasphemy, and to destroy it would be to spit in the face of their entire race. Now more than ever, the dwarves expected to die. Monday, June 15th, the edge of the Dire Marsh. The Legion has come 250 miles in little more than 2 weeks, not returning west to safety, but headed north toward the melted cities of the Trow and Ballos Fortress. Back in Forest Heart, Ulrich convinced our officers that the west was lost, that our small force could contribute nothing to the hopeless battles that would soon be fought around Madrigal, Willow, and Tandem. These cities would fall, he said, and all their people would die whether we sacrificed ourselves or not. Then he told us what we could do instead. Ulrich was interrogated by Balor during his captivity, and he learned by chance that Balor had bound each of the fallen to himself to ensure their obedience to his will. The fallen draw their power through these links, and were Balor to be killed, they would all be powerless. The armies of the dark would collapse. So Balor must fall. But today we are only at the edge of the dire marsh, nearly 500 miles from his fortress, with the Watcher waiting in ambush ahead and Soulblighter shadowing us from behind. We have a long road before us. A few men and I are leaving the main column in a few moments to discover the fate of a scouting party which has not returned. None of us expect to find them alive, but we must recover an artifact carried by their leader Griulman, Lieutenant of Archers. Wednesday, June 24th, the south bank of the Guol. The Legion has reached the Guol, the poisoned river which feeds the dire marsh. Soulblighter has been continuously engaging our rear guard for the last 2 days. Between this and the Watcher's many ambushes along the way, it seems as if the two fallen are racing to see which can destroy us first. We will cross the river at midnight, but leave a number of men in ambush for Soulblighter when he tries to follow. Ulrich intends to hit the Watcher while Soulblighter is delayed, and then flee north before either can force a decisive battle. Yesterday I saw Yu Shi, captain of archers, with a fist full of white arrows 5 feet long and tipped with fragments of bone. I lost track of who was carrying the Watcher's arm when we fled Silver Mines, but I suspect it's turned up again. I was one of the men chosen to hold the Guol against Soulblighter. Thursday, June 25th, near the Watcher's camp. We retreated from the river into chaos. There was no time to write until the following day, when we finally left the swamp for drier ground in the north. We held Soulblighter at the Guol long enough to let Ulrich spring his trap on the Watcher. Turned out I was right about those arrows. Ulrich had been working on them since we entered the marsh 2 weeks ago, and they were tipped with fragments of bone from the Watcher's arm. I sure wouldn't have wanted to get stuck with one, but apparently they turned the Watcher into stone, leaving him paralyzed and helpless. But he didn't die. 30 berserks chosen to accompany the archers tore through the enemy and piled the bodies of the dead at the Watcher's feet, but all were killed before they could deliver the final blow. Rather than leave such a dangerous enemy behind us to be rescued, 100 men have volunteered to return and smash him to fragments before help can arrive.